Welcome to Total Football with SportsAdda. Yesterday was a day of shocks and surprises. Okay, Croatia losing 3 goals to 5, Spain scoring 5 in a Euro. This is something that you don't see every day. They've done it back to back now. What do you have to say about this game? And you were definitely bamboozled when you saw Croatia get out of the tournament, weren't you?
Absolutely. Yesterday is a prime example of why you love this beautiful game. Two
Absolutely.
matches, 14 goals, one penalty shootout, and two major upsets. So, amazing games played overall. If you see the Croatia game, they fought back from 3-1 down, amazing last minute goal, but they didn't have the energy maybe left in the extra time to take them through. But the Spanish side did have that extra bit of class. Morata proving the differentiator over there. Olmo and Ferran Torres
Yeah.
coming in with goals and assists, and a good win for Spain.
Did you speak of Switzerland versus France? No one expected. If you look at this, they'll be playing head to head now. Switzerland versus the Spanish team. The Spain and Switzerland is going to be an interesting match here. But the fact that France lost to Switzerland, no one expected this. I mean, that is the most shocking result of this Euros by far, because of the fact that we know France and the quality that they have, but they were completely outplayed in the last 15 minutes, I would say, by the Swiss. Of the 90-minute quota, the last 15 minutes were phenomenal for the Swiss team. After that Pogba goal, everyone wrote them off definitely. And Sid, we spoke a lot about Shaqiri and Xhaka and people like them. We completely not didn't mention Seferovic. This guy really proved, that he is one of the better players in this Swiss side. The couple of headers that he scored, what an impact he got. And now Switzerland are on a different high. They wouldn't mind taking on a Spain now because they've beaten the best side in the world.
Absolutely. The Swiss side coming into this match, I mentioned, it will be very tactical. They did sit deep. They made a few changes.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised by the French setup. They went to three at the back. So
Yeah.
I was surprised by that formation, and Rabiot not a traditional left wing back playing in that role. So the tactics actually were a major player over here. And if you actually see the post-match press conference, Xhaka came and gave the man of the match award to that coach, saying that this is for you. You have won us the match. But all credit to the Swiss players. They played according to the tactics and they didn't give up. They scored that early goal. They missed a penalty as well. Ricardo Rodriguez missing a penalty in regular time, then going 2 goals down.
Yes.
Benzema scoring an absolute beauty, the first goal that he scored, and Pogba himself an absolute screamer from long range. So
Super.
Beautiful goals, but the Swiss fought back, held it in extra time, and a brilliant display by them all over.
What a result, Sid. I was completely shocked to my core because I was vouching for France to win it comfortably because you don't see such big upsets. I mean, you do, but it was completely unexpected. I was pretty shocked and
Absolutely.
I really loved it. That this game doesn't fail to surprise me. It was fantastic. Quickly moving on, Sid, to the first game. It's a rip snorter of a game. It's Germany taking on England at the Wembley. So said England versus Germany. The only thing that comes to my mind are the flashbacks of Frank Lampard and that goal just getting disallowed. Neuer, the ball bouncing inside the net. If VAR was there, in those times, I think this was the reason why VAR came to light because of this particular, this very goal. What do you have to say about, now that the impact of VAR and, VAR is there, so there won't be such issues at all. Do you think that's a blessing in disguise? And also it is a loss in a way because sometimes, the goals that were given that would not have stood. Something like a Maradona's handball, hand of God, or something like that, the offside, some people just a yard or two offside, and that would have been ruled out.
Absolutely, it could have changed the course of history. Yeah, but after this goal line technology was gotten almost immediately, which did make a difference. Goal line technology does help a lot of teams.
Yes,
We've seen in the Dutch game, if I'm not wrong, that goal being allowed due to goal line technology.
Correct.
But technology has to be adapted as you move along these days. It is very important technology will help their referees, but at times, as we've seen in VAR, it is detrimental as well. It takes away from the game because you have a team celebrating a goal and waiting 2 minutes before it's officially allowed,
Yeah.
or there is a stoppage of play because VAR. So there are pros and cons that you have to consider with technology. But yes, it is for a positive. It will evolve, and hopefully we get better, results and more entertaining matches going forward.
And because of technology, there have been these new rules as well. A goalkeeper has to stand the line. He can't come ahead of the line when
Yeah.
he's stopping a penalty till the time the ball is kicked. So even yesterday we
Yeah.
saw something like that. Jan Sommer was a bit confused as to what has happened. Have I actually saved it or no for a couple of
Yeah.
seconds? And even Mbappe was the one who was appealing that he had stood off the line.
True.
But yeah, so stuff like this has been happening now, and people have adapted to it. I just wanted to bring to light that VAR has been so influential, especially at the Euros,
Yeah.
that there has been no margin for error as a human error. There has been no human error in this tournament. Usually, you blame the referees for an offside, or
Yeah.
you just cuss at the referees that this was his fault and he's the reason why we lost the match or stuff like that. But this won't happen anymore with the presence of VAR now. Now moving on to Germany and England, they played thrice in the Euros. Germany have won a couple of games and just one win for the English side. Do you think that today's England, the young England side, where you've got Mason, Declan Rice, Phil Foden, you think these people have what it takes to compete this mighty German side? Because Germany have mix of experience and youth. If you look at their squad, but still a lot of experience in them. Do you think that this English
Yeah.
side is capable enough to beat this brilliant German side?
At the start of this tournament itself, I said the inexperience of the English side will be something that will be detrimental to them. And I still think that going forward, the Germans have that experience of playing together a lot. The English side, while may have played together in the qualifying rounds at club level, but they do not have the big game experience which
Correct.
the Germans have. Even though they themselves are a young team, they do have big game exposure and playing in an international tournament, while these young Englishmen do not. They suddenly come into the squad. You could see that in their performances a few times. They've not got the best results. And there is a bit of controversy coming into this game as well, where England haven't travelled a single mile for any of their matches, while other teams
Yes.
have. And the German team actually weren't allowed to practice last night at Wembley.
Yeah, Wembley
The
pitch.
English
Yeah.
team, they said, with the rains, it might affect the pitch, etc. So there's a bit of controversy there of why the Germans weren't allowed, because you have to get used to the pitch. Okay, each pitch is unique in its own. The dimensions are a bit different. The positioning is a bit different.
Correct.
The
That's
Englishmen
absolutely true.
are used to it, while the Germans aren't, and they haven't got that chance to acclimatize to this. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think the Germans have a slight edge from an experience standpoint.
You speak of experience, you spoke about big match, and you have Manuel Neuer in your side. The best goalkeeper, for Germany. He has been extremely successful, immensely talented. This guy stands 6 feet 4, and he's won everything. He's won it all. Come at the hour and come at the match. He's something like that. So, what do you have to say about him? And could this be his last Euros, or probably he might be looking at another career after this, because he's growing old and there are a lot of young prodigies who are waiting in line. You just talk about the Ter Stegen. There are players better. I mean, I wouldn't say better, but there are younger and quicker kind of goalkeepers out there just waiting for him to retire. So, could you think this could be his last Euros and he would want to go out with a bang?
While I do think he has matured a lot, and he might be, in some pundits' eyes, coming to the end of his career, but goalkeepers have a prolonged career
Yeah,
with
that's
them.
true.
They do play much longer. Just take the example of Buffon. He's still
Yeah.
playing. He's rejoined his childhood club, Parma. But even with Neuer, and the German side have a lot of young goalkeepers, be Burnley or Ter Stegen or the others. There are multiple goalkeepers in line, and all of them as talented. But Neuer has held his own. He's a legend in himself. He's recently got 100 caps for Germany. So I don't think it'll be easy to displace him, but you can never say never.
Absolutely. When you speak of Neuer, there on the other side you've got a Harry Kane who has played for Tottenham. He's the captain of the club. He's definitely one of the players to watch out for, Sid, because he's a very good striker, clinical finisher. And there was a video that came out on social media where he scored 3 out of 3 in practice, in training. One with a right, one with a left, and one with a header or something like that. So he is looking, crisp and sharp. He just needs to get the goals now. That is the only thing that's left for him to do. He's done everything else and he's doing it right. What are your thoughts on Harry Kane and how important would he be tonight?
Harry Kane is both a club and the national team captain for England. But, and as you said, the video does show his raw natural abilities. But as we all know, training is one thing. Translating that into a performance and the end result in the match is what has been missing for him.
Correct.
And it's not been now, it's been there for around 12 or 13 matches. And I myself have been saying that he needs to be dropped. The last few matches, he hasn't been deliveries. But see, Southgate has his confidence in him. He has the backing of the manager. So hopefully he does deliver on it. But if he doesn't, I think England will be in a lot of trouble.
Yes, and they've got the young prospects like Calvin Phillips. I was about to mention him. Calvin Phillips is a very talented youngster. We saw in the first game against Croatia, he was very good. But then he's had a very, I must say, he's had his ups and downs when it comes to this Euros. He had a very bad game. He had one average game. So there is no consistency when it comes to this English side. They've only scored 2 goals, like we mentioned earlier. Only Sterling is the one who scored, to be clear. And they need goals. When you are in the later half of the tournament, you need consistency. You can't be on and off. So this is something which people expect from Calvin Phillips. Plays for Leeds under Bielsa, one of the best managers in the world. Most talented. So what are your thoughts? You think that Calvin Phillips needs to up the ante, or probably Gareth Southgate needs to look at a Jordan Henderson when it comes to the big matches for an experienced campaigner?
Obviously, I expect both Harry Maguire and Henderson to start today because they are the 2 most experienced players in this English squad, apart from Harry Kane, and who have international as well as club exposure. The youngsters will be looking for them to guide them along. See, Harry Kane and Sterling in the front line may be undisputed. They have their places both, but they don't need guidance. They are well versed with each other. But Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice need the guidance of Henderson alongside him. Harry Maguire shouting from the back. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But another interesting thing would be who starts at the central attacking midfielder and the right wing. Because Foden and Mason Mount, who putting in good performances, did not deliver the goods. But the English side seemed completely different when Grealish and Saka came in. And the entire debate about Sancho starting, not starting, will Southgate go for a false 9 where Sterling starts up front, Sancho, Saka and Grealish? You don't know. And Southgate is a bit unpredictable with his lineups. So it's interesting to see how he lines up today against the Germans.
And for Germany, if we speak of them, you've got Joshua Kimmich out there. We all know that he's a brilliant player, and he's from a right back position. He's adapted to this more central kind of defensive position for his club and country now. And then you have the player to watch out for, Sid. I personally feel it's absolutely bang on. You've got Serge Gnabry. So this guy has played in England. He's played a lot of years in England, a couple of years. And the surprising thing is, whenever he's played at Wembley, he has scored. So you think that this could be a day where he could, get a stroll in the park and get a couple of goals for his country?
So see, it's not going to be a stroll in the park because the English defense more or less seems sound. Their back seems a bit sound, so it'll be tough to crack, but I don't think it's impossible. The Germans have it in them to unlock defenses. We've seen them play against the best in Portugal and France, and tough results for them, but yes, they do have the capabilities there. And if you talk about Kimmich, he is the natural heir of Philipp Lahm, their legend. Yes, Lahm also was traditionally a right back, moved to the central defensive midfield role. They are versatile players and they bring a lot of adaptability to the German team. So according to how the game goes, they change their game style accordingly, and they don't need to make substitution for that. And that's the beauty of versatile players. And if you talk about Gnabry, his interchangeability with the winger, or playing the false 9, it'll be a huge difference of how they're able to impact and change the dynamics of the game. And as you said, he always scores at Wembley. Hopefully he scores another today.
just to maintain the record and just to make sure that the stats are right in place. Asit, final question about this game. Predict me the winner of the game in your perspective, and who do you think is gonna what's the score gonna be like in this game?
A lot of it will depend on whether England can get the goals. Because if Harry Kane does deliver, it will be a tough game for the Germans. Because this
Yes,
English defense is tough to crack. But if he doesn't deliver, I think, and which I don't know. See, going by the past record of his and his form coming into this game, I think he'll find it a little difficult. But I think it'll be a 2-0 win for the Germans.
all right. Two for the Germans. This tournament is known to be an underdog specialist tournament. Okay, this 2020 Euro has been completely different than the other tournaments that I have ever witnessed in my life. So this could be anything could happen here. Okay, so a German win is what we look from the outset and look at the stats and the facts and the pitch and the players. But let's hope to see something that's out of the box and something out of the ordinary to happen today. Now, Sid, moving on to the second game, it's the Sweden versus Ukraine battle. Now, Sweden versus Ukraine, Sid. Ukraine have such a big manager, such a big player in his days. Andrei Shevchenko. He has been a legend. Okay, now taking the role of a manager, making sure that his team go to the round of 16. Not the ideal way that he would have wanted, but now that they are here, do you think that the past now really matters because of in the group stages they were good, but they didn't get the results. And here in these games, it doesn't matter you play good or bad. The win matters in the end, not the way you play. It's how how the 90 minutes end for you. So you think that
Exactly.
Ukraine will be on a bit of a low compared to the way they would have wanted it to be?
So yes, they would be a little low, okay, because they haven't met their own expectations.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, every time you go into a game, you expect yourself to perform, say, at X%, but you perform at maybe a little less. So you're disappointed in yourself, and sometimes that is detrimental to your performances as well, because you go in saying that I didn't perform well last time. That's in your head, etc. But they shouldn't fault themselves. They're an amazing team. They've been scoring goals. They do deserve to be where they are. And in
Yeah.
Andrei Shevchenko, they have an absolute legend. And actually, when they last met in the Euros in 2012, they won 2-1 against the Swedes, and
Yes.
he himself had scored those two goals.
Yeah.
So he will take that as a boost for them. But with a head-to-head, if you see, it's pretty neck and neck, with the Swedes edging them with an extra win in major tournaments. But I don't think this will matter anymore, because both teams have come in to this game with amazing results, amazing goals. So we'll expect a very good game between these two.
Exactly, and the fact that Sweden too are in some brilliant form. We spoke about Zlatan not being there. We spoke about a couple of players missing out, but still players like Lindelof have stepped up. To see that at
Absolutely.
such a at a country level is completely so much passion, and it gives you so much inspiration as a football watcher,
Yeah.
because when he plays for Manchester United, he's always the second defender after Harry Maguire. Always, that's how it is.
Yeah.
And probably after Eric Bailly as well, at times he's been left out for Eric Bailly. So what I'm trying to say is, when he plays for Sweden, there's a lot of, you can see that in his games, the way they give that chest bumps to each other after a good defensive block or stuff like that. It's amazing to see. And this guy has really transformed his game when it comes to the international level, playing around and among the best players in the world.
True. So that's the beauty of it, right? And I've mentioned it multiple times during our shows. Players perform differently for clubs and their nation. One is obviously the setup that it suits them. The other is the pride of playing for your nation. It,
Exactly.
whatever said and done, it does not translate to when you're playing for a club. Your country brings a different level of pride in you, and
Yeah.
it ups your ante, ups your game. So it's a different kind of high, and Victor Lindelof has proved that time and time again during this tournament. Brilliant last-ditch tackles, brilliant defending by him, and he is definitely one of the stalwarts and leaders in this series.
Exactly, and I'm really happy to see someone like him being a centre back from a team which we all have seen growing up. He's performing really well. United fans, for specifically, would be very happy to see this side of Lindelof. Similarly, how they would be happy to see that side of Paul Pogba yesterday. Now, speaking of Lindelof, he will be against Yarmolenko, who's in great form. And this player is never out of form. Actually, I've never seen him go 20 goals without a game, 20 games without a goal. I'm so sorry, but he's been brilliant, Yarmolenko, and the way he scored against the Dutch, he really showed that he's got what it takes to play the big games. And playing Sweden wouldn't be a difficult task for him. It would just be another game for him.
Absolutely. So, him and his strike partner, Yamcheko, so they have formed a brilliant partnership. And as we said, again, Yamalenko is one of those people who didn't come into this tournament playing many games for his club, West Ham.
Yeah.
But for his team, he is absolutely phenomenal. The goal against the Dutch, one of the contenders for goal of the tournament.
Yeah.
But he does bring that surprise package, and we do expect him to play some goals, in this tournament if they go forward, and today as well.
You could see a goal today from him. But on the other hand, for the Swedes, you've got Emil Forsberg. He's already got 3 goals, in 3 games, and this is a very important day for him. He's, wearing the number 10 for Sweden, number 1. That's the most important thing. You don't get it when Zlatan is around, mostly. And when you get it, you need to perform excellently, and he has been doing that. He has stepped it up, and today could be the day where he can prove to be the difference between the two sides, because he's been very skillful on and off the ball, and with the support of players like Lindelof and Isaac as well, he could make a difference up front.
Not only Forsberg, you have, as you rightly mentioned, Isaac, the others are very influential for this team. And
Correct.
When you look at Forsberg's overall performance, he drifts in from the left, centrally attacking. He has those defense-splitting passes. He has the goals in him, proved by those 3 goals that he scored. So he is a man to watch out for. So, and you do expect him to drive at the defense and cause them a few problems.
Correct. And with the fact that Ukraine are not really high on confidence, as we just spoke about a few minutes ago, that they're not on the prime of their form per se. So Sweden could have that advantage over them, and more of that, Sweden have won a couple of games in the group stage, and they've drawn against Spain, if I'm not wrong, and they were also unbeaten in the group stage. So they have a lot of confidence on the back of their Euro journey so far. So it could be that they can take this to their advantage of playing Ukraine and trying to dominate them. But similarly, Sid, I just wanted to ask you this from a Ukrainian perspective. The way they played against Dutch, they took the attack. They kept the Dutch kept coming at them. But then when they attacked or when they counter-attacked, they were clinical. Clinical is the word. They got chances, they created, and they scored at them. So you think this could be a big test for Sweden when it comes to the tactical side of the game?
It will be, because see, the Ukrainians are going to go with the philosophy that attack is the best form of defense. If they push back the Swedes, okay, they do have the attacking potency in them. They do score at least 2 goals. That's been the average over the last few games that they've had. Now, what is going to happen is that's going to push back the Swedes. Isaac, Forsberg, everyone are going to be pushed back. So that is another defensive tactic. You keep attacking, so those guys are not able to break through your ranks. They are just defending and hitting those balls, no nonsense defending, hit it long, and then there's another attack. There's wave after wave of attack.
Yeah. So that could be one thing. You're right about it. But this game is a neck and neck encounter, as we have seen in the past as well. There's no choosing, and there could be like always, an Andrei Shevchenko stepping up for Ukraine the last time around. There could be someone who can really bring that major impact for one of these teams. So final question, Sid, who do you think is going to get this game and move ahead in the quarterfinals and probably play the German or the English side?
Yeah. So see, over here, form-wise, Sweden are at an advantage, but the Ukrainians, with their attacking mindset, they're going to come into this game with an attacking mindset. So it's going to be an open game. It's very difficult to choose. Ideally, if it was a group stage game, I'd go without a thought that it's going to be a draw, maybe a high-scoring draw. But this game as well, there are high stakes. Probably some mistakes are going to be made by people you don't expect. But I think the Ukrainians have it in them just slightly because of their goal scoring ability. While
Good one.
the Swedes also have it in them, but they don't score as many. They
Yeah.
do notch those goals, but they need to be more clinical today because we know the
Absolutely.
Ukrainians are going to be with their coach. Now let's see how it plays out ultimately. Because yesterday also we gave very by the stats decent calls, but football as it is throws you
Hmm.
surprises,
Yes,
and we
it does.
hope for the same today, obviously.
So you're predicting like a draw and then a win probably in the end for Ukraine, or just a close
Yeah.
1-0 win.
So either it'll
Okay.
be a close win for Ukraine or it goes into extra time where they will.
It will be a phenomenal game. Okay, because Ukraine and Sweden are not the biggest of teams, but I'm completely sure that today's game will be fantastic because these two teams will give it all, and because these two teams are not, they are equally balanced, they are equally,
Yeah.
inexperienced at the international level. That is a brilliant competition in itself. So it's
True.
two contrasting games out there, fixtures. England, Germany, two big sides, and Sweden, Ukraine, not the biggest but two most passionate sides. And you can see the amount of expectations that Ukrainian fans will have from their teams. It's going to be amazing, Sid. Thank you for joining with me. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk more about the quarterfinals and the fixtures as they pan out. And that was Total Football by SportsAdda.